What's going down, everybody? Welcome back. This is part 5 of our altered art tutorial. Welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're a patron, thank you for being a patron. We are working on, patron of the show, Aaron, we are working on his island. And I left the camera up from part 4 because that actually worked really good to see what it looks like. We've finished our text. We've finished our clouds. We've done a little bit of a horizon line there to give some differentiation between the sky and the water. And today we're going to do the water. So let's do some painting so I can take my shirt and hat off again when I shut you guys off. So I'm going to bend the camera down and then we'll get started. Okay, you guys see what I see now. For you, it's next week. But for me, it's 4 minutes. So I got my brush. This is my blending brush. We've got our teal, brown, black, white, and we might want some of this true blue. We might want some of that. I don't know yet. We're gonna see. I'm gonna spin this around, and I've got a fresh kind of open spot to work with right here, and we're gonna get to it. Teal, some white. I'm gonna need more of everything. Okay. Teal, white, and don't be scared to use lots. You don't want to build the paint up on the card. But don't be scared to use lots because the brush is going to soak up a lot of the paint. We are just going to lay down a big layer of, I don't know, tealy, whitey, brown, for lack of a more technical term. And we're going to end up painting a lot of it into the card here to match the watercolor. So that's like a first base kind of undercoat type thing. And I'm going to bake that a little bit. Again, don't bake for too long because then you'll bubble the paint or warp the card. I kind of just move it back and forth to get a uniform heat on it. And then back to it, another coat. Going to take 3 or 4 coats like this to get this how we want it. Believe it or not, I find the more white that's in whatever you're doing, kind of the better that it covers. You can tap it a little bit instead of like stroking it. Generally, I tap over the text because it's going to lay down a little bit thicker when you tap it off the brush like that. But you do have to make sure that you're not leaving bubbles of paint or clumps of it, you know what I mean? So that's coming along. That's starting to look like water. It's the same color anyways. I'm going to need some more brown because even in water there's brown. Brown in pretty much everything. I think that, don't Google that either. Maybe? I don't know. We might even want a little bit of green. Not because there's a lot of green in here, but just because we can add green if we want, if that's the way that we want it to look. Green usually signifies like real tropical shallow water. Blue is, I don't know, this water looks cold. It's from Ice Age, so I mean, it's cold, right? So we're just laying everything down. Kind of just hanging out. I'm starting to really just go back and forth with a really dry brush. And once I kind of get the color that I'm happy with, that's when we'll move to a different color. Or sorry, a different brush. A little bit you can blend color of your paint into the existing card art. And you can even cover a little bit of the existing card art in solid color. Because we're leaving enough around like the top part of this island to know... We're leaving enough, around this top part of the island to know what the original water looked like in the painting. So we're going to paint that back in going down this way as sort of a reflection. But I am going to switch brushes now, and I am going to use this true blue. And I am going to grab the ultramarine blue. This is another golden color, and it is very, very dark. So I'm only going to use a little bit of it. Really, I only have it there just in case I need it. And I'm going to grab this. If you remember from previous tutorials, this big, long, bristled brush, you can see how long those bristles are. They hold a lot of paint. So I'm going to blow through paint with this, and I'm going to probably have to repaint a couple times. And I'm going to blow through a ton of white. We're just going to get some on there and see what it looks like. I already don't like it. I already don't like that ultramarine blue. I shouldn't have used it. But right now, this isn't going to be final what I'm doing. But what I'm doing is just kind of blocking out the shape with this darker blue mixture. Just the shape of the island. So I know where around in the rest I want to make like a lighter blue. So I've got some color in there now. Some shadow kind of in there. And I'm going to get a wet brush. And I am going to continue just making water. So there we've got some extra blending done, and it's starting to look pretty good. We've got like this part of the island is quite a bit taller than this part, so I've got more shadow down here, and the color that I used down here kind of had some brown in it and a little tiny bit of our just regular blue, and I kind of added some of this darker color down here in onto the sides of the shadow just because that's kind of how I thought it looked. And I kept my long bristle brush wet most of the time. If it was too wet, I'd give it a little dab like this with my finger. And my finger is all like blue now, but it looks really good around the sides of the shadow of the island. And that's what I was talking about. We can paint into the art if we are able to paint the detail back in. We can paint it out to blend it and then paint it back in because we studied the art or had a picture of the art on our phone to see what it looks like. And I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with where it's at. I'm going to need more white just to add a tiny bit more color, just to make some stuff look a little bit smoother. And again, just keeping it nice and wet. It's funny, the wetter you keep your brush, the more it looks like water. Go figure, right? On some stuff. This is a traditional medium painting, like meaning it was done with paint in the first place. Some of the digital stuff nowadays doesn't look quite the same. So I'm going to get some more white, and I'm going to do up kind of by the horizon lines where we talked about last week. Okay, so I did one, and I kind of just wanted to practice before I put my foot in my mouth and didn't know how to do it. So a lot of the times when you're moving backwards into the painting, especially on newer magic cards like I was just talking that were done in like a digital medium, a lot of the times what you have to do is take the same color that you're working with, like whatever color we were working with down at the bottom of the card, and you have to add in a whole bunch of white and a whole bunch of black. You kind of have to gray the color out. Gray a little bit makes it look like there's atmosphere in the way. And I don't know what better way to say that than like if you're standing on a tall building or like me in the prairies or whatever, and you're looking as far as you can see, how farther objects look like they're a little bit more gray. So I added a little bit of white and some brown into the water back here. I kind of just went at it until I covered everything I needed to cover. So we're going to do this side now, and then we're going to move into adding some I don't know, some reflection and detail to the middle of the card. I kind of just have to go back and forth mixing until I get exactly kind of the color that I want. Again, that's why so many lights are important, is because and mixing it and fanning it out or swatching it out on the paper is important, because what I see on the palette and then what I see on the white paper might not look exactly what it is going to look like on the card. The longer you look at it, sometimes your eye is tricked or confused, and something that I liked before, I don't like anymore now. It kind of dried, like I was saying, it had too much water in it, so you could see kind of the water drops as it dried. Cover that a bit, feather it back out, tap it a little bit to blend it here. Continue to pay attention until it's all dry. Some cards are particularly tricky, like I think I mentioned on one of the previous tutorials that Battle Bond or anything printed on the Japanese printing press is particularly difficult. That looks better, and I've even got a little bit of, as my brush got dipped in the water, more and more paint started to soak out of it, so the paint that I started with isn't even the color that I have now, and that actually looks really good when you're doing random nature-y type things, because there is no perfect solid colors in nature really. As my color changes a little bit, I can do more. But I am going to switch. I am going to go to my smallest brush, and I am going to start to add in some of these little, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see. I am going to add in some of these little white reflection dots and stuff. I'm going to call this finished for now. What I did was, with my little brush and with this also small but a little bit longer bristled brush, just got some really watered down paint, and I added in some shadow here. Like I kind of just took the general shape of the top part of the island and kind of like flipped it down. Added some white, some blue, some teal. I redid the horizon line across the kind of behind the island there and made sure that it looked flat. And then I just kind of went along all the borders of the card to make sure that You can't see any of the border or the original text or anything underneath the paint. So final big thank you. This is it. I don't know how good that is. I'll put a like a real picture of the card on the screen. Big thank you to Aaron Carr. He is he's going to be the proud owner of this card, and I hope he likes it. It's part of his, I think it's a mono blue Sakashima deck. It's getting all altered islands, all full art islands like this, and this is one of the last ones, so hopefully he likes it. If you want to have your altar featured, you can become a patron. I think I'm going to make that a benefit. I was thinking of that when I was kind of doing this, and maybe we'll switch it up and we'll make the get your commissioned featured a benefit. So if that's of interest to you and you're not already a patron, think about signing up. And I'll see you guys next week for another Altered Art tutorial.